If I felt better health-wise, one could say that I am happy. But this thing of feeling such a wreck, from head to toe, sometimes upsets my brain and makes me have bitter moments.
By her 37th birthday, FRIDA's health was compromising her daily life, and it would decline steadily for the next 10 years. Her spine was so weak she couldn't sit or stand without support. She was given x-rays, blood transfusions, and spinal taps. Finally, she was put into a metal corset. This corset was the first of 24 that she would wear, most of them made of plaster. She called them punishment. She spent the entire year of 1950 in the English hospital in Mexico City, suffering from headaches, fevers, infections, and gangrene in her foot. She started taking morphine for the pain and began an addiction to painkillers that she was now keeping a journal, and it slowly filled up with sketches, watercolors, and free associations that were even more personal in her paintings. More than anything, the journal was a love poem to Diego.
Diego is the name of love. Diego, beginning. Diego, my friend. Diego, my mother. Diego, my father. Diego, my son. Diego, me. Diego, universe.
When she finally moved back into the blue house, it was in a wheelchair. She rarely left home anymore, and for long stretches couldn't even get out of bed. She dreaded being alone, and her demands and attachments to the people around her grew. She also became ardently communist for the first time. She started a portrait of Stalin and hung a picture of Mao on her bed. To her, communism had become confused with community, and she believed that it would protect her from being alone.
Revolution is the harmony of form and color, and everything exists and moves under only one law: life. Nobody is separate from anybody else. Nobody fights for himself. Everything is all and one. Anguish and pain, pleasure and death are no more than a process for existence. In spite of my long illness, I feel immense joy in living.
In the spring of 1953, FRIDA's dear friend Lola Alvarez Bravo, who ran an art gallery in Mexico City, decided to exhibit FRIDA's work. Despite her celebrity in international circles, she had never had a show at home. It was clear that FRIDA was near death, and Bravo wanted to honor her during her lifetime. Friends, students, critics, and strangers crowded around her bed all evening. It was a huge party, with tequila, laughter, guitars, and singing. It was, one friend put it, the kind of performance that she loved: colorful, surprising, intensely human, and a little morbid. Bravo received calls from Paris, London, and across the U.S. asking about the show.
Where's the music?
A prominent critic summarized the experience. It is impossible to separate the life and work of this singular person. Her paintings are her autobiography. Two months later, FRIDA's doctors decided that they would have to amputate the bottom half of her right leg. "She is going to die," Diego said. "This is going to kill her." "The night before the operation," wrote her nurse, "it was just silent. We didn't say a single word. All the days after the operation, it was silent. Just silence." Following the surgery, FRIDA spoke little. She lay or sat near the large window in her bedroom and watched the pigeons and branches and fountain moving in the garden.
I don't think Frida was a communist. I think that Frida was a pantheist. I think Frida was in love with the world, with everything that was alive. Her love for the little dogs and the flowers and the monkeys and all the things that appear in her painting. She sort of sacralizes the world. She wants to sacralize everything she touches. She's in love with the world as garden.
So Bernice was working in Chicago when she met Diego Rivera while she was working on the mural for Rockefeller. And he invited her to come to Mexico. And it was just some sort of an open invitation. And she eventually did go to Mexico. And she was there a couple of times. She went and talked to him. And then she befriended him and Frida. And she became a frequent visitor at their home, which was, of course, visited by many other artists of the time. And she eventually liked Mexico and stayed in Mexico. So you have the majority of her life, or her adult life, is totally spent there, and that's where she lived until she died. In the case with Frida, we know that Frida is completely her own persona and that she's a show business. Then with Bernice's photographs, there's not so much Frida in them. She sort of becomes a person of a normal proportion. So it's a really interesting group of photographs because you see, in some way, a different type of Frida. She's much more modest, and she fits with the rest of the people that Bernice photographed. There's also the poignancy of being able to see in Bernice's work not only Frida alive, but it's really striking that she had such an amazing contact with Frida and Diego that that Bernice was able to take photographs of Frida in her deathbed, which is quite an amazing feat. I don't even know if there's other photographs in existence of Frida dead at home. There are some photographs of Frida when she was dead that were taken when the national homage was paid at the Palace of Fine Arts. Those are very important and famous photographs. But the quietness of Frida dead in her bed is quite striking as a contrast to the other group of photographs.
It was one of those cold, dank, rainy days when Frida left her bed in order to participate in a communist demonstration. This was her last public appearance, and Frida made a heroic spectacle.
Her last painting was a lavish still life of cut watermelons. 8 days before she died, she inscribed the bottom with her name, the date, and the place, Coyoacán, Mexico. Then she wrote in large letters her parting words, Viva la vida, long live life.
I hope the leaving is joyful, and I hope I never return.
Yo envidio el viento que susurra en tu oído, que llama en invierno, congela tus dedos que se mueven tu cabello, que parte tus labios, congela hasta tus besos.
On Tuesday, July 13th, 1954, Frida Kahlo died in her bed. She was 47 years old. Her friends tied up her hair with flowers and ribbons and put on her rings and necklaces. People filed past the bed all day long to pay their respects. Diego, a friend recalled, became an old man in a few hours, pale and ugly. When Frida died, he looked like a soul cut in two.
Yo envidio el viento que susurra en tu oído, que llama en invierno, congela tus dedos que se mueven tu cabello, que parte tus labios, congela hasta tus besos. Yo envidio el viento, ay, envidio ver falls down face, wet your lashes, dampens your skin, touches your tongue.
Diego only lived 3 years after Frida's death. He admitted that it was only after she died that he finally understood the power of her love. His final statement as a painter was a small still life of cut watermelons.
Que se mueve en tu cabello, que parte tus labios, congela hasta tus besos. Yo envidio el viento, ay, envidio ver falls down your face, wet your lashes, dampens your skin, touches your tongue, so you shine, grips down your back. I envy the rain. The sun that brightens your summer, that warms your body and holds you in heat and makes your day stronger. Makes you sweat. I envy the sun, I envy the sun, I envy the rain.